And so if you follow my puzzle and you put all your pieces together, you should come out the other side with a book. So the first piece of the puzzle, which is this upper left-hand piece here, okay, is this. You can write I to M in it, or you can basically make a note of it, I to M. What is I to M? I is an idea. Wow, I have this great idea for a book. Who do you know who said that? Maybe it was you, right? You want to take that idea and you want to actually bring it into what's the message? What are you doing, right? And so I love quotes, and so you'll see that I've used them throughout this short presentation and this handout. But Albert Einstein said it's fun to do the impossible. And if you actually think about Audrey Hepburn, she said nothing is impossible. The word itself is I'm possible. And so I want you to remember and keep in mind that this is something that you can do. It is possible. And one of the things you want to think about is, what are you contributing to somebody else? You're going to ask them to read your book. You're going to ask them to invest 8 hours of their lifetime, give or take, to read what you're going to write. Make it good. You want to pull that together for somebody else, right? Because I know for me, when I pick up a book and I'm disappointed, I'm like, really? I really thought that this was blank, right? So let's go to the next one. And so a lot of people say, oh, the competition is so tough out there. Well, I always say use the C to C. C to C is this piece at the bottom, okay? What's C to C? Well, C to C is taking competition and turning it into co-opetition, because everybody is speaking to the same reader and the same audience. You just have to find your people that are talking to them. That's all. And that will help you actually find your audience. And so instead of making it so hard, well, who's your book for? Well, I don't know, it could be YA, or it could be, adults or whatever. So you want to keep that in mind. And as I always like to say, because it's anonymous, so all of us can say it, just when you figured out where it's at, somebody moves it. Hence the competition, right? And so the next piece, which is all the way up here in the other corner, okay, is the USP. This is your unique selling proposition. 1, 2, 3, unique selling proposition. So if you're in sales, or you've ever been in sales, you've heard this term before. Now you want to actually think about for yourself, what is the unique selling proposition for your book? Who is it directed at, target audience, and what are they going to get out of it? So all the things I've been telling you, I'm building up into my unique selling proposition. So maybe your book is about relationships, or maybe it's about finance, or maybe it's about something else, dating, right? One of the things that you want to think about is, why is your book different than all the other books that are out there? What is unique about it? I wrote a book called Dating Your Money. Dating Your Money is how to build a long-lasting relationship with your money in 8 easy steps. That was my very first book. I was a certified financial planner, and I wanted to write a book that was for women in a time when there weren't books for women about money. And I didn't want to write a fancy book about buying a house or stocks or bonds or commodities. I wanted to write a book that was actually something she could use to just get her to sit down with her money and actually have a meeting every week. That was really my MO. That was very unique. The book was it was focused on just cash flow for her. B, it was bright pink. It was pink on the outside, it was pink on the inside, and it was all pink for her on a shelf that was gray, green, black, and blue. That was the book that stood out to her, and basically was like, that's the book for me, right? Because it was written for her. And that's why I did it. And to tell you how I got to that USP is a fun story, because one of my professional colleagues in the marketing space said, "Who's the book for?" I said, "Well, it could be this, it could be that." And he said, "I challenge you to write it for women. There are not enough books for women. Write it just for her." And I took on that dare and that challenge, and I did it. And of course, I was like every other author, right? I was like, "Oh, but men, this and that." And nope, write it for women. Just keep your head down and keep straight. Well, I got to tell you, we actually learned through some of our market research that men were reading the book. They were actually taking the book and they were hiding it in another book and they were reading it. And we actually got to the point at one stage with the marketing team where we were like, maybe we should sell like a blue book cover that men could actually have that was for them. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was so funny. Think differently. Why is your book different? Right? If you do what you always did, you're going to get what you always got. You got to do something else. This is what this is about. Now, I'm going to take you through how to actually get your book together. Okay? If you're writing nonfiction, and this is particular to nonfiction, if you're writing fiction, you basically want to use this as a plot. Okay, so these are plot points, or these are literally, O is for outline. Where does the outline go? It's not the big piece of the puzzle. The outline goes over here. Okay, so now we're in the outline. So how do you actually outline? Well, Thoreau said in the long run, we only hit what we aim at. And so before you just sit down and start writing, map it out for yourself. Think about what's the first key principle that you want to actually hit in your book. And then write an ABC down. What's it about? What's important about that key principle that you want to convey, that you've got something to say about, that you have a message about? What is that? And then wash, rinse, repeat. The next key principle, the next key principle. Because before you know it, I had 8. I had 8 chapters. I had 8 principles. The second chapter was all about the emotions of money. I was one of the first people to ever write about emotions of money for women in an entire chapter that was dedicated just for her, to acknowledge all that stuff that kicks up for us financially, right? So what are your key principles? And what do you know about them? And what do you want to share?